Hi, this is Dr. Georgia. I hope you find today's message a blessing in your life. We want to make sure that we continue to provide these video messages for you when you can't come to church, or for those of you who live in a different state, or we noticed recently we have a lot of people in even different countries who are tuning in. So if that is you and you can donate to us, we invite you to hit that donate button just below the message here. So thanks so much. All right. Well, if you'll prepare yourself, put your hand over your eyes. I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
Now over your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
Now if you put your hand over your heart and just extend out your arms, I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that you can rise again and again and again and again. Now that's the good news. Yeah. Now I have some more good news, but it doesn't feel so good. And that is, something's going to have to die before you can be resurrected, before you can rise again. Not necessarily a physical death, but a death of an idea, a death of a pattern, a death of a behavior. Needs to flat out go before you can rise again. You know, like Jesus the Christ, who we honor this day, he was fully aware that he had to die before he could resurrect into everlasting life. And I believe that there are people in here this morning, in addition to me, who know that there is something in their life that has to die before they can rise again. I don't know what it is for you, but I know what it is for me. I think every one of us, as we want to rise higher and higher and higher in our life, we know that there's something inside of us that has to go in order for us to rise again. Because here's the thing, the word resurrection means life after death. It doesn't mean life getting better after you fall down. It means life after death. Flat out death in our life. Death of poverty thinking, so that you can have abundance in your life. Death of being afraid of people, so that you can begin to have connection and love and friends in your life. Death of addiction, so that you can stand up and be a self-respecting person, the person you know you want to be. Addiction has to flat out die before that can happen in our life. You know what? We also need to have, many of us in this room, myself included, we need to have a flat out death of we can do it all by ourselves. So that we can begin to have a successful life, because we have a successful life with others in our life. See, there's nobody in here that can have new life. There's nobody anywhere that's going to be able to have new life while holding on to old ideas. And unless any of us think it's easy for Jesus, but not easy for us, let's take a look at the resurrection story in our life. See, Jesus was betrayed by Judas, by his disciples, by Peter. And here's the thing. He was betrayed by somebody close enough to kiss him. See, we can't be betrayed by enemies. We can't be betrayed by people we don't know. We're betrayed by people who we trust. People who are our friends. People who are close enough to give us a kiss. That's who we're betrayed by. But you know what? No matter what, we can rise up again. Jesus was betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. There may be people in the room here today who were betrayed for their boss's praise by a co-worker who stole something that it was theirs to share. Maybe there's somebody in the church this morning who has somebody in their life who they trusted and who tried to kill their marriage by paying attention inappropriately to their spouse. You can rise again from that. Maybe there's somebody in here today who didn't get an equal inheritance from your siblings. You can rise again from that. See, the Old Testament tells us what man meant for evil, God meant for good in our life. Could it be that like Jesus, who knew he was going to be betrayed in order for him to have everlasting life, in order for him to fulfill his destiny, he knew he was going to be betrayed. Could it be that the betrayals that are happening and have happened and might happen in the future, I hope not, but might, of anybody in this room, could it be that those betrayals are for our good, to get us to our own divine inheritance, to our own everlasting life on this planet? I think it's possible. I think we need to, every time we have a betrayal, we need to at least ask ourselves the question, what could this mean for me, for good, in my life? Let me break it down. Let me look at it. Does it mean I have to have more self-worth, self-esteem? Is that what it's trying to tell me? For me to be able to meet my divine destiny? Does it mean I have to let go of gossip so people begin to trust me? What does it mean? For me, this crucifixion that I'm feeling, this betrayal that I'm thinking. See, here's the thing. I don't think there's anybody in the sky, and I say this frequently, but I'm going to keep saying it frequently. There's nobody in the sky named God who's pulling strings for us to be able to understand. What I do mean, though, is that until we face within ourselves our own demons, we can't be resurrected. There is no resurrection for us. But you know, here's the thing. Betrayal isn't the only thing that Jesus faced. He also faced being ridiculed. Now, sociologists tell us that the reason that kids go into gangs is because they're looking to be respected. Being respected for who we are and how we are on this planet is a basic human need. And when we're not respected in our life, when we're ridiculed in our life, what it means, unfortunately, is that if we bought it, then we have to look at where it came from and where we can begin to dismantle us. See, nobody was honoring Jesus at his hour of crucifixion. They put a purple robe on him. They put a crown of thorns on him. They mocked him. They told him, you know, now who do you think you are? Now you're the King of Kings. Look at you now. When we experience it, and you know what? Nowhere in any Bible that I have on my shelf does it say that Jesus was disturbed by the mocking. People around Jesus were disturbed by the mocking, but Jesus himself was not disturbed by the mocking. Why? Because Jesus knew who he was. He understood it. He got it. This is on them. This isn't on me. And when you and I are mocked, it's a terribly painful thing. But when we can understand that what's happening is a big mirror is being up there showing us what we agree with. Because when you don't agree with something and people are mocking you about it and you don't think it's a wrong or bad thing, it doesn't bother you. It's not part of your crucifixion anymore. When it's part of your crucifixion, know this, it's part of your healing when we feel bad about it. You want to call me a dyke? Call me a dyke. I don't care. You can mock me out. You can make all the jokes up. It's not going to bother me. In fact, I'll make it feel along with you. I don't care. But you call me old? I have a little work to do. But it's not on you. It's not on you. If I want to rise again from that, it's not to shut you up. It's to make me understand that I'm whole, perfect, and complete, just as Jesus understood who he was. I've got to dismantle those buttons. You know, people used to laugh at Walt Disney, and, you know, he was bankrupt many, many times. And they loved to laugh at him and say, look at what kind of businessman are you now? But they didn't count on this. Walt Disney knew who he was, just like Jesus did. And he went on to do fantastic things in his life. You have to heal up to rise up. Whatever is in there that you're secretly agreeing with your crucifiers with. Well, Jesus was a powerful way shower. You know, the reason that I've asked our choir not to sing about Jesus more than twice a year, and we sing about Jesus all the time, we just don't give Jesus credit for it. That's the truth. That's the truth. But the reason I do that is because I know a lot of people who come to New Thought churches like this one have been hurt in the name of Christianity. Let me remind you again, you have never been hurt by Jesus. You have never been hurt by Jesus. But some of Jesus' handmaidens have done a number on some of us. And for that reason, I bring Jesus' teachings into the church. And Jesus is fine without me saying his name. Because he knows what he was here to do. And that is to show us the way. See, mocking heart, a betraying heart wasn't the only thing. Jesus also had pain, physical pain. And he cried out. He had doubt from his physical pain. And I want us in metaphysics to really pay attention to this. I want those of us who are filled with positivity and always think that we need to have a positive response for every trespass against us. Somebody hurts us to our core, and we think it is incumbent upon us to say something positive in that moment. It is not. Follow the teachings of Jesus. He was hurt. He was scared. He cried out. He said, Father, why hast thou forsaken me? We need to pay attention to that. When we're hurt, we need to cry out. Get it up and get it out. We need to share it with one another so that it's not down in there making us sick. It doesn't make us bad metaphysicians. It doesn't make us bad people. It makes us healthy people, people who are ready to rise up. Because here it is. Unless you feel it, unless you share it, you're going to try and drown it. You're going to drown it with alcohol. You're going to drown it with food. You're going to drown it with the internet. I don't know what your drowning mechanism is, but each and every one of us have a drowning mechanism. You can't rise up if you're drowning. Get it out. Get it out in our life. The most important thing that Jesus uttered through the whole crucifixion in my mind is that it's over. It's over. Father, I surrender unto your hands. I commit my spirit to your spirit. Whatever version of the Bible, it's over. I'm not going to swim upstream anymore. I'm going to give to you, to your teachings. Not to your body, but to your teachings, to the spiritual principles that will allow me to rise up. But we can't rise up until we have this time of surrender. For those of you in recovery, it's the third step. We know that. It's turning our will and our life over to the care of God as we understand God, so that we can rise up from our addictions, so we can be people who help others in our life, so we can live fully in our life. Well, after Jesus was resurrected, this is one of my favorite parts, he walked among the people who knew him. He walked among his disciples, and they didn't even recognize him. Now that's important, because sometimes when we rise up, sometimes when we get rid of a behavior that we know is no longer serving us, sometimes when we resurrect ourselves into a new person, sometimes when we do that, our old people don't recognize us. They have us not in we're a movie, you and I, and they have us in a snapshot of how we used to be. We're not there anymore. We've had a resurrection. We've gone through our crucifixion. We began to see who we are. Don't let them drag you back down. Because they will try. Not because they're bad people, because they're not here yet. Don't let them drag you down. And in the end, Jesus says, tell all my disciples to come and meet me. And even tell that dope Peter. You know, the guy who betrayed me 3 times. Even tell him to come. Because I'm not leaving anybody out of my resurrection. I'm bringing everybody in. Because it's important. And forgiveness is an important part. That's what he was doing. He was saying, yeah, I forgive you. And see, we want to be around people who have fallen down and gotten back up. The resurrected people in our lives are the ones that we listen to the closest. The ones that we like. And everybody knows that attraction. And see, that's what happened with Jesus from his resurrection. He is still helping us. Well, way over 2,000 years later. He's helping us through attraction. Because of how he lived his life. And we know that. Weight Watchers knows that. They only hire people who were heavy and went to Weight Watchers and got thin. They resurrected themselves. Otherwise, you don't get hired. We love to hear the story of Michael Jordan, who got kicked off the basketball team in his high school. Got totally kicked off because he wasn't good enough. We love to hear that story because it's a resurrection story. You and I have the ability to be, there are over 300 people in this church this morning. Thank you, Easter. I love it. There are over 300 people here, and we're all resurrection stories. All of us. We're the walking Jesus. And that's exactly what he wanted. It's the biggest way we can honor Easter is by being the very Christ that Jesus was. And you and I can do that. Happy Easter. Let's take this in. There's only one power. It's the power of love, and it runs right through me, and I love that. And I simply accept it. And I walk taller from it. Because when love comes out of me, it comes straight from God, and I give thanks for that. I give thanks. I release His word into the law, and together we say, and so it is.